Everyone, please pray for my editor, Josh. He's about to go through it.
All right.
Josh?
You're too sick to work.
No, Mr.
Maddie?
I'm okay. Honest.
Today, we are doing a video that we have not done in a long while, over a year now, a Game Pass tier list. Since our last tier list, there's been a number of new video games that have been added to the service, and I wanted to now sit down, collect all the ones I've played, which is 200 plus, and rank them. The difference from this tier list to the last one is, last tier list I had every Game Pass game, and I took even the games I didn't play, and for whatever reason, I don't know what was going on with me that day, I ranked them. I'm not doing that here. So there are still plenty of other games in Game Pass that maybe you have yet to play, have yet to experience, that I also haven't experienced, and they will not be on this list. But from everything I did play, which is a lot of it, most of it, it's here, ready to be ranked. And with that, let's get into this absolute cinema of a video because, oh my God, it's going to be long.
But first, a word from our sponsor.
The following video is sponsored by Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon is the second coming of cereal. I am a cereal connoisseur, going to the length of, during high school, actually importing my cereal from Korea. I wish I could tell you that was not a true story, but it is. So when they reached out to me, I don't think they were aware of the expert they were messing with, someone that would go to that length to consume breakfast greatness. Good news for them, because Magic Spoon is Mr. Maddie approved. Inspired by the Saturday morning cartoon vibe, Magic Spoon has been the answer to my mornings that need more protein. As many of you know, these last 3 months prior to my injury, I was hitting the gym pretty hard, and half the battle of all of that is your diet. And it's great to hear that Magic Spoon has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 to 5 net grams of carbs in each serving. With only 140 calories per serving, they're also keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low carb.
Y'all do anything. Coco, trust me. I'm spitting out my food, it's so good. Trust me. It's worth it.
So click the link below to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use the promo code MrMaddiePlays at checkout to get $5 off any order. Or go to magicspoon.com/MrMaddiePlays. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So click the link below and use the code MrMaddiePlays for $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/MrMaddiePlays to save $5 today.
Let's start with number one, A Plague Tale: Innocence. We're starting off strong, S tier. This is a must play on Game Pass. 10-hour game, really atmospheric. Its sequel is going to be day one on Game Pass this year as well, highlighting the relationship that Game Pass is fostering between developers and publishers and Xbox. And this is one of the best directed experiences that you could have right now in modern gaming. A nice AA game developed by Asobo, published by Focus Home, who I think does some of the best AA work on our industry, and they made a really memorable experience involving light manipulation, rats, a really heartfelt story. So this is one that I think is a must play. This is a single player game too, and you'll notice they'll be up there. They'll be higher ranked. Just know my preferences, know my bias, because I already know tier lists in general seem to piss people off. We got a way out. This one I like, I don't love. There's another game from this same team that I do like a lot more, but A Way Out is a nice condensed 6-ish hour co-op experience you can play with one friend, and it's really campy, but I think a lot of people like it because of that. It's not by any means a bad game, but there's not any twists, turns, surprises. It's just a fun co-op driven game, and through and through co-op. Like, it's built for co-op, it's built for 2 players, and not many teams do that. So it's a game that should be celebrated. It's one I have fond memories of, but it's not one I absolutely adore. There's one game though I've been seeing on YouTube that's been adored quite a bit. That's Assassin's Creed Origins. This one to me is like, look, you play one, you play them all. Assassin's Creed is very settings driven. So if you like the setting of Origins, you should go play it, because to me that is the driving factor of interest, because otherwise they do play the same. But a lot of people like AC Origins because it represents what I think people loved about the first Assassin's Creed game, and it's the one that in hindsight, when you look at what's going on with Valhalla, Odyssey, Origins. People look at Origins as kind of like the best one of the trio. And I respect that. I haven't replayed it since it first came out many years ago, but for me, I wasn't in love with it. I really liked Odyssey. Yeah, we're starting off with the hot takes here. I liked Valhalla. I thought Origins was okay, but for a game that was supposed to, at the time, really reinvent and overhaul the franchise with its more action focus, it didn't feel like it accomplished that quite like I felt Odyssey did. Now, each of these games have their own problems. The Ubisoft bloat, so you're not really winning no matter what. But to me, this isn't high on the must-play list. But again, it's a game that will differ from person to person, truly, because you may love the setting. You may also love the AC lore far more than me. Oh, man. I'm about to show my bias here. The Somnium Files. This one, I'm going to put in the B. I'm not as passionate about this as a certain game on this list that I'm sure many of you know are there. But if you do like visual novels, the Somnium Files is one of the better ones out there. I do think it's got some of that weird humor at times that makes it really difficult to fully recommend. Like, you'll love this because you'll be able to overcome all these obstacles and still love it no matter what. I can't say I feel that strongly about it, but this game has a rad plot twist. You play as a detective who has an AI in his eyeball that's kind of scanning the environment for him and trying to help them solve this murder mystery. And I am a murder mystery junkie, so I really like that type of stuff. So if you're into visual novels, you're looking for one that's about 30-ish hours, this is a good place to go. The sequel just came out, but apparently you don't need to play the sequel to understand, play the first game to understand the sequel. So that's up to you, but that option's there to gauge your interest on the franchise overall. And Kaname Dante is a hilarious protagonist. So check that out if you're interested in visual novels, but not really a must-play out of the visual novel offerings that Xbox Game Pass has, which some, I will say, do rate much higher than the Somnium Files. All right. Alice Madness Returns. This game is really cool. I'm going to put it at the B. It's a 360 game. Nothing really quite like it. 3D platforming, bloody, sadistic. I remember picking this up just out of like morbid curiosity, if you will. And I liked it. I thought it was great. So this is a game that if you're looking for that 360 flair and you have yet to play it, look up some reviews on this one. It is really, really cool. And I highly recommend you check it out. Okay, more modern games now. Aliens Fireteam Elite. This game, I think, got kind of a bad rap because a lot of people are like, F. I'm more like C. Like, I think it's good for what it is. It's 3-player online co-op horde mode. I think Alien fans are rightfully down bad. They're waiting for a sequel to the game right here we're going to talk about next. This is a game, though, that falls in that bag of tricks that we've been seeing a lot for this franchise, which is just like swarming you with aliens and you're fighting them all off. I just happen to think that out of all the ones we've seen recently or the upcoming ones, that Fireteam Elite was kind of the most competent one. It has a decent progression system. You can get a couple friends to download the game with you. Just same thing with A Way Out. You know, everyone signed up for Game Pass. Let's play this together. It's a fun romp. I didn't stick around with it for too long, though. Played it for a few sessions, put about almost 10 hours into it and said, all right, I think I've seen enough here, and moved on. But I'm not a hardcore Aliens fan, so maybe those of you out there who are will enjoy this one more than me. But if I were to really recommend an Alien game, it would be Alien Isolation. This game is creepy, and if I could say hold off till October, that would be my personal call for you. This game makes you feel vulnerable. The sound, the AI, it is incredible. This is a game that just feels like almost a lightning in the bottle moment that no one's really tried to replicate, which is quite surprising. There are some complaints that this game is a little bit longer than it needs to be. I don't really necessarily think so, but I think Alien Isolation is a game that anyone who loves horror, who loves tension, who loves that vulnerability that games can give you, this is one that certainly you should play. Anthem, F. This is a game you don't need to play at all. Anthem's dead. Their support is done for the game. It's not what BioWare is about. It's never been what BioWare is about. Let it lie in its grave. I'm glad they got it out of their system. They got to attempt it, but overall, Anthem to me is a game that I don't think you really need to go out of your way to play. Your time is better spent. There's other live service games in here that are more vibrant, more attractive, that are getting content updates, and your time in Anthem would be wasted. So avoid at all costs there. Origami 2. This one, goes in the C category for me. I expected more from Origami 2. I played this in 3-player co-op. It's a sequel, of course, to the first Origami, where that was very stealth-driven. This is still stealth-driven, but they tried to add some more action combat to the game. It doesn't feel that good. But when this game feels its best is when everyone's kind of like on the same page and you're playing an online co-op session and you're coordinating attacks. You can play this solo. I did not play it that way, which is why my rating is a little bit lower than probably what many people would give it. But my experience with it in 3-player co-op wasn't great. A lot of desync issues, a lot of wonky AI, broken levels, tons of glitches. It was kind of frustrating to play, and frustrating more so because the ideas there are cool. You have missions that you can grab in this hub area. You can upgrade your equipment. I love the supernatural part of it all because as a big Dishonored fan, it spoke to me. But this is one that, again, is a decent co-op romp, but to me, not the high quality experience I was hoping for. But again, the game's been patched, updated. So with all these games that you may be having interest in as you're seeing them pass by, I always say consider reviews. I'm just trying to aggregate all of the opinions into one video. Army of Two. This one, I haven't played it in so long. We're talking about a classic 360 co-op game. And I gotta say, like, my heart says put it in B. But to me, I feel like what made it special is kind of passed people by, where if they were to download it now, I'm just gonna put it in C, to be honest with myself. I love Army of Two. There was nothing quite like this game during the 360 era. Like, we talk about A Way Out being like the co-op driven experience, and I know it may look funky because A Way Out was kind of hit or miss for people versus some of these co-op games here. But Army of Two was like doing what A Way Out is doing now. Because Army of Two, man, I mean, it was just purely co-op, like everything from exploring the level to firefights to the design of the level itself. The design of combat encounters is always like co-op driven. So yeah, Army of Two is a good game if you can tolerate some of the 360 jank and you're okay with some of those ideas maybe feeling like they've aged unfavorably. I would say give it a rip. Like, my heart says B, okay? Before anyone reacts, my heart says B, but I got to be objective here and give you all the real list and be like, look, it's probably a C for most people, including myself, if I were to make a recommendation. Like, this is all strength of recommendation here. Really, it's of course factoring in the quality of the game, but it's also like, how strongly do I recommend something? If you're in the S, like, it's a must play. Back 4 Blood. This game's a D for me. I was so disappointed with Back 4 Blood, right? Everyone was thinking like this is the next coming of Left 4 Dead, and it was anything but that. Every decision they could have made, from how they handled solo play to how they handled, or really lack thereof, with online versus multiplayer, they just made a game that screamed to fans like, we're back, we're doing a Left 4 Dead style game, this is exciting, and they did not really deliver in my eyes. To me, this is a low priority co-op game, and if you want to scratch that Left 4 Dead itch, go get it on PC and mod that sucker up if you have the option. Otherwise, there are plenty of other great co-op games that will spotlight here. Again, think of it this way, everything here is rated above that, so there's plenty of options that you can experiment with outside of Back 4 Blood. It's not an atrocious game, it's just, to me, severely disappointing, and you'll kind of get that vibe if you've never looked into it, you never played it, of this is like Left 4 Dead, but it's missing a lot of things that I think made Left 4 Dead special. So it's sad to see that, because this is from a lot of the OG creators of Left 4 Dead. Batman Arkham Knight. It's strange because this is the only Batman game on the service currently. You cannot play the rest of the Arkham series. So the way I look at it is this. I'm going to rank this as if you have played Arkham Asylum and City and you have not played Knight, or as well as the quality of Knight individually, which to me would put it in the B category. You don't got to rush out and play this one. A lot of people really crap all over this game. I thought Arkham Knight was pretty good. Was it predictable at times? Yes. Is it definitely the most inferior game amongst the 4 Arkham titles? Yeah, I would agree with that. But we're talking about a batch of like excellent high quality games, and if you're talking about the least high quality of a high quality bunch, Arkham Knight is still a worthwhile playthrough. The free flow is great. The additions they made to the combat system with gadgets feel really nice. I do like how they psychologically play with Batman based off the events of Arkham City. That's one of my favorite parts of it all. It's just that I think a lot of people hammer on how the driving in the open world felt, which I thought was cool. I like that stuff. But also how like Batman's clearly killing people even though he's not really killing people. But people also hammer on the story a lot in this game because it's predictable, and I can understand that. But I just think, personally, this game is awesome. I am a huge comic book fan, so I'm a little biased there. All right, we got a slew of Battlefield games to go through, and this one's going to be tough because, I have a heart for the old Battlefield games, and a particular modern one I would recommend. But we're going to start with Battlefield 1. I actually did like Battlefield 1 when it first came out. I played it for about 40-ish hours, which is decent for me as someone who doesn't hang around multiplayer games all too much. I like the whole World War I setting. I know it was kind of limiting, and I know Battlefield fans are really big on the idea of, getting the historical accuracy right, which many games on this list did not do. But for me, Battlefield 1 was still a fun game to hop in and to play around in. So if you do have a hankering for that World War type of gameplay, you could check that one out. But they also have a more current one that you could look into as well. Where my heart really lies in these ones were tough, but I wanted to rate them anyway because I did look it up online. You could get games in Battlefield 3. To me, Battlefield 3 is one of the better ones. I adore Battlefield 3. This was my high school career. And if you could get into those games and continue to play in those servers, specifically on PC, that's where the more active player base lies, and it makes it all the more frustrating what happened with 2042 and how you could build these maps and modes and have the throwbacks from all these different games. How badly I want that game to bounce back, I can't even express it. But Battlefield 3, I adored. So I recommend if you can just get into a couple of matches, that is worthwhile to me. But Battlefield 4 is known as the one that's the real triumphant Battlefield game, the great modern Battlefield game. And I don't hold a lot of adoration to this game, but I understand why a ton of people like it and why more people would gravitate towards it. So I do highly recommend, if you're going to check out a Battlefield game on Game Pass to play online multiplayer, you just leap back into, if possible, again, if the servers allow it, Battlefield 4. Again, that may be a bit of a hot take for some people because it is a very old game, but it was one of the favorites. It felt like the last true Battlefield game. Hardline. I think Hardline gets a really rough go, but I'm going to put it in the F category. Not because I think it's bad. I actually have had a debate with ACG in Ham Radio Podcast in the old days numerous times where we battle back and forth between Far Cry Primal and Battlefield Hardline and which one was better, the battle of the worst for many people. Battlefield Hardline, cops and robbers, I love that premise. I thought that was awesome, but the multiplayer was not that great. It died off in a flash, and it's just completely vacant now. Not really worth playing from what I saw. Battlefield 5, this one also came and went. The historical accuracy really hurt it. And so for me, I'm sure you could probably have a better time finding a match here. But with the World War II theme, a lot of people didn't like what they were doing at all. And I totally get that. So yeah, it's one that I would just say low on the priority list here. Bad Company 2. I'm going to put it here where normally it would be higher up if it was more active. But again, according to my research, it's not like you're going to leap into a game just like that. You have to get it at the right time of day and probably be on PC. But this game, it was my introduction to Battlefield, and it was the way I escaped the Call of Duty addiction. I was like, oh my God, Battlefield is incredible with the introduction to bullet drop, real-time destruction, all that stuff. It felt great. So we've now managed to get our way through the Battlefield gauntlet. We're here on the other end. We're talking about Battletoads. Battletoads is a 2D beat 'em up exclusive to Xbox, and a lot of people really went hard on this game for its art style. If you can get past that, it's a B. It's a good, quick beat 'em up. There are other excellent beat 'em up options here on the service I will highlight, but Battletoads is one that I think just gets shit on for unfair reasons. I'm not going to act like I'm an OG. I'm 27, so I'm not going to act like I'm an OG Battletoads fan. I have played it through Rare Replay, which we'll talk about later. But I thought this version of Battletoads wasn't terrible. So I liked it. I enjoy it. I recommend it. Blinks the Time Sweeper. How much of an old head are you is the question. Can you tolerate an old Xbox OG game? If you can, I think this game's up here in the S tier. However, if I'm sitting here talking to the general gamer looking for a recommendation, you don't gotta rush and play Blinks. I'm very passionate about Blinks. He's one of my favorite Xbox exclusives. I adore Blinks at the time. So, screw it. Sure. Go play Blinks, okay? Learn your lesson here. This is my opportunity to speak to the masses. I'm about to be too passive, and it's like, no, I gotta really get on your backs about this. This is a good video game where they introduce time manipulation into platforming, and for its time, pardon the pun, it was fascinating. I love the animations and whatnot. It felt like Xbox was really knocking on the door of something special, and they did make a sequel, which I have not played, but I do love the original. The original reviewed very well, and the soundtrack for this game, the art direction, such a vibe. So do yourself a favor, play this classic. Boyfriend Dungeon. This game's actually cool. It met a ton of controversy, but if you're into visual novel style dungeon crawlers, where you are playing, every weapon is a dude that you can date, yeah, you could check this out. It's a really novel concept. I liked it. They managed to wade their way through controversy, and they're here on the other side, and I think it's worth checking out. I played this one specifically on xCloud, and I thought it felt really good. I was at my girlfriend's house playing it on my phone. So with that, we move into a game that does not get talked about enough. It's one I've dabbled in, but it is great. Bug Fables. If you like Paper Mario and you need more of that in your life, it has been said this is the game you go to. Now, I have not played Paper Mario either, sadly. That is a game I hope to get to on Retro Rebound. I know I need to get to that one. But for those who like that type of game, Bug Fables is literally that. I've shown all of my diehard friends I have shown all my friends who are diehard fans of Paper Mario this game, and they have loved it. They're like, oh my god, it's literally Paper Mario. So if you were into that, check it out. Otherwise, a great RPG in Game Pass. Bug Snacks, originally a PlayStation launch exclusive. This game is really cool, and it's surprisingly dark. I kind of just want to leave it at that, because I think the less you know, the better with this one. So give it a shot if you're interested in food that you can capture, kind of like, I guess, Pokemon Snap in a weird way, maybe. Burnout Paradise Remastered. See, I gotta say, this is also in the B category, which is easily going to be our fattest category. Burnout Paradise is... I remember growing up with this game, man. Like, just too much nostalgia here. I love Burnout, right? The vicious car crashes, the way you just control the road. If you're looking for a great arcade racer, this is it. Contrast. I'm going to take this opportunity to put another game on your radar. This is kind of in the Blinks category, so I'm going to put them side by side. Contrast comes from Compulsion Games. That is now a Xbox first-party studio, and I think this game, when it came out on PlayStation 4 day one, was supremely overlooked. It's a platformer, but it's got a really interesting story. I liked the vibe is there, and you can get a feel for this team and the creatives that are there. They're also known for We Happy Few, which is in Game Pass. We'll talk about that much later in the video. Since it's all in alphabetical order, we have to get down to the W's. But Contrast, to me, was always the game that I associated them with. I was like, this game is great. It was the first game I played to completion on PS4, so maybe there's a factor there. But Contrast, just wonderful video game. Do yourself a favor, try it out. Again, another gem that won't soak up your entire months of your life. You'll be able to play it in like a weekend and be done with it. Crackdown 3. I just played this recently in a video with Kev Dewitt and D. Fun, wacky co-op. Not really what the series was best known for. Wrecking mode's no longer available, which had all of that real-time destruction that they kind of lied about. And overall, it's all right. It's very, very okay, but not one that I would recommend. Chris Tales. This one hurts a little bit, but yeah, see, like, it's not bad, but it certainly isn't that great. This is an RPG I was really, really excited for when it came out last year. It was a day one Game Pass get for Xbox, and I thought they had one here, because what's cool about Chris Tales is you have the ability to manipulate time in combat, so you could poison someone and accelerate time, and that will kill them. But just the balancing in this game, if you've watched my review for Stranger of Paradise, you know I'm like very attentive to game balance and feel in RPGs, not where you have to be able to steamroll every battle, but where it's not frustrating and the game provides you the tools necessary if it's going to be a challenge. And Chris Tales was just, frustrating. But if you are looking for this kind of fairy tale game with really cool art, where in this game you'll see the past and the present all in real time, and you'll see like actual art transforming before your eyes, it is so cool. I do recommend you, if you're interested in that, give it a shot, see if you like it, because I think it is the ideal Game Pass game where you can find this and feel better about it because you didn't pay for it. I bought it on Switch because I was traveling that weekend and I wanted to play it on the go. And I knew I wouldn't have good internet, so I didn't want to do it on xCloud. I don't think it was xCloud supported at the time either. So I went with Switch, and I didn't finish it. I was not crazy about it. But you may like this one. I do feel like this could be a good one for some of you out there. Crossfire X, though. F. I am not going to talk about it any longer. It is the worst game that came out this year. Stay the hell away from Crossfire X. Scrolling down, Crusader Kings 3. This is a game that, if you are ready for a real steep learning curve, where you can create your own family and make some real serious choices here, you have your game. This is addicting. Beware. You've played Civilization, right? Civilization's got that type of hook to it where you're like, oh man, just one more round. Be careful if you get into Crusader Kings 3. That is a deep rabbit hole, but that's why it's great. That's a lot of value here in Game Pass, and I think it's worth a look. But again, remember the steep learning curve. Highly recommend check out reviews before you download this one. We have the Crisis Trilogy here, 1, 2, 3. What's interesting is this is not remastered. These are the original Xbox 360 games. So you will see, like here in small text, Crisis 3 Remastered. It's just the picture I could find for it that I could use for this site because it's very specific. I don't know if anyone knew that. But anyway, this is the order of games. Crisis 1 was... It's tough to talk about these games because Crisis 1 was such a moment in our industry of like graphical fidelity and gameplay customization. And it feels like as this series went on, it lost more and more of that and just became a pretty game. And so it really depends who you're asking in the nostalgia. For me, all three of these do kind of fall into the D category. I know some people are not going to like that, but to me, I feel like as first-person shooters in the service, there are ones that are much more competitive for your time, that are doing new things that are exciting, and I don't think I have nostalgia for Crisis like many others do. That's not to say they're bad games, but to me, I understand bunching them in here might be kind of awkward because I'm very much like, don't try these, but it's not like the negative, like stay away. But this is like, I just don't feel that intensity for Crisis like I do certain first-person shooters. So with that, let's move on to another duology. Danganronpa. Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, the first game, and Danganronpa 2. We're adding one to our S tier here. Danganronpa 1 is a must-play game on Game Pass. If you're watching this and you are a listener of Defining Duke, you've heard this story before. You are trapped in a high school with 16, I believe it is, other students. The walls are bolted shut, and the only way to get out is to kill someone. And so it's this tense, atmospheric visual novel with a lot of investigative gameplay elements that is superb fiction. It's peak fiction, kino, cinema, whatever you want to call it. It is this. This is a game I have replayed. And mind you, visual novel I put in quotes because there are gameplay elements, social gameplay elements where you can hang out with classmates and stuff. But this is a game that will subvert your expectations. I know what you're seeing. When you see the gameplay, you're going to look at it and go, oh, it's weeb game. Put the ego aside. Trust me, put the ego aside. I get it. I grew up hating JRPGs up until like 2013. I get it. What you're looking at is highly deceptive, though. This is the type of game I call a breakthrough game. You play it and you go, oh my God, I need more of those types of games. I think it's a breakthrough game. So that's why Danganronpa 2 will also sit there next to it, because to me, Danganronpa as a trilogy is some of the best storytelling and character-driven moments you can experience in modern gaming. So I think of them very highly. Even though I like Danganronpa 2 less than Danganronpa 1, I feel like if you play the first one, you love it. Yes, the second one is a must-play. Excellent games. And we're in just this era of excellence. You can see the bars, you can see the games. Yeah, let's talk about Dante's Inferno. Oh, yeah. This game, I was very late to. I'm excited to one day talk about this on Retro Rebound, but really surprisingly awesome game that flew under the radar, and I almost feel hesitant to like talk about it because I'm just like, maybe other people are experiencing that. But if you're looking for a good like God of War style game, check this one out, especially because Xbox doesn't have God of War. Dead Cells. The addiction didn't grab me too much. I played about 15 hours of this, but Dead Cells is excellent. I know Dead Cells is best known for what happened with Philip Mewson, but there is more to it than that controversy, and you owe it to yourself to check it out. I'm not a big roguelike guy, so that should say a lot to you that I actually put Dead Cells in the B category. Normally, I'm like, okay, that was fun for a couple hours. See you later. But yeah, Dead Cells is great. What's better with Dead in the title is Dead Space S tier. If you have not played Dead Space 1, if you have not played Dead Space 2, now is your time. Do not wait for the remake. They are changing the remake. They're putting a voice protagonist in it, which I know the second game had it, but the first game was not built around it, so it's totally different. These are my favorite horror games, survival horror games ever, especially Dead Space 1. Dead Space 2 is one of the highest budgeted video games ever made, so please treat yourself to excellent video games. Both of these games sit around the 10-hour category, so again, you could bang this out in like a weekend if you really put your time into it. Otherwise, you could probably beat it in a week if you just space it out. Turn off the lights, sit down on your couch, be prepared to be scared a little bit. These games are intense, they're trippy. Best audio direction in a video game I've experienced. Play them. What you don't need to rush to afterwards is Dead Space 3. It's a co-op game. It's a mess of a game. It does not capture anything the first two games have. Its story is nonsensical. It's poorly written. It's just not worth really your time. If you played 1 and 2 and walked away from the series, I'd be like, good for you. That's probably the best call you can make. Because the first half of Dead Space 3 is kind of cool as you're crawling through space stations and spaceships and whatnot. I like that zero gravity type stuff, but after you land on the frozen planet, it just falls apart completely. Tons of invisible loading screens. It's got one really cool co-op element that kind of plays with your expectations, but otherwise, not worth your time. Just play Dead Space 1 and 2. Death's Door, A tier. This was a console launch exclusive last year, one of the best surprises of last year, and now it's on Game Pass. It's available everywhere, but now it's on Game Pass. If you like Zelda-style games, but with like a Sin City graphical style, this is probably one you should look toward, but this is very combat-driven, unlike, I'd say, Zelda. So this game is like, it's so simplistic. It's all about being simplistic in its art, in its controls, in its enemy design. But because it's so simplistic, it's very precise and it feels very good to play. You get a quick understanding of what you need to do. And so overall, when you finish this story in about 6-7 hours, you can play more. There's plenty to do in its world. You are treated to something that's kind of like you learn it's a very thematically driven game too. And the things you've been drip fed throughout the whole experience take on a whole new meaning. Destroy All Humans. Interesting timing with this one because we have Destroy All Humans 2 remake coming out very soon. I'm going to put this in the B category. Now we're at 2 rows. Oh boy, we're growing here. Destroy All Humans remake is great. It adds elements from the sequel into the first game, so it makes it more playable. It's hilarious. It's from an era of pandemic video games, not literally the pandemic in 2020, but like the pandemic of 2005, who was dropping games like Battlefront, Lord of the Rings Conquest. This was one of them, Mercenaries, so on and so forth. They were just on one, and this is another game in their legacy that's just fantastic, and it's a great remake. So if you haven't played it, I think this is one absolutely worth checking out. Dishonored 1, Dishonored 2, Dishonored Death of the Outsider. I'm an Arcane fanboy, sorry not sorry. These games are amazing. Immersive, first-person sims with stealth elements and supernatural abilities and choice and consequence. So each of these games, outside of Death of the Outsider, which is a much more linear, if you will, narratively driven experience, they get rid of the chaos system. But in the other 2 games, as you kill people or incapacitate them, as you make certain choices in quests within these hub worlds, what's going to happen is it's going to alter your ending. And when you move it from Dishonored 1 to Dishonored 2, where you have 2 playable characters with 2 completely different skill sets, 2 completely different equipment loadouts, and then 2 different endings, you can play the game literally just in its base value 4 different ways. It is awesome. The only thing that sucks is that it's not at 60 FPS, and I don't know why. That could push some people off. But otherwise, Dishonored as a trilogy is just some of the best stealth gaming you can have, some of the most replayable gaming you can have, and it's why I adore Arcane. Do yourself a favor, get in on this. Dodgeball Academia. Wasn't in love with this one. Not bad game, but I thought the idea of a turn-based dodgeball game was kind of cool. But yeah, it's not one I feel you really got to rush out and play. But some of you may find that appealing, so give it a shot if you so desire. Doom Eternal. We're adding a lot to the S tier now. We're in the thick of it now. Doom Eternal is one of the best first-person shooters in gaming history, let alone especially the last generation. That's why you have Crisis down here. That's why we have Battlefield here, the ones I prefer that I would suggest to you to play, and it's why we have Doom Eternal at the top. If you're going to play a first-person shooter in Xbox Game Pass, it better be Doom Eternal. The moment-to-moment decision-making here is unparalleled as you're deciding, do I use a chainsaw and tear this guy apart and take some of his armor? I think that's when you use the fire on your shoulder. I'm sorry. I think the chainsaw is for health. But point being is you're using all these different executions to take out enemies, and it's to either replenish your health, replenish your armor, get some ammo, and so you're switching weapons in the meantime to target enemy weaknesses. There's certain weapon combos you can use. These environments are like slip and slides as you're zipping all over the place. The traversal, the mobility feels great. And again, that moment-to-moment decision-making makes every single combat encounter highly engaging. It's also a perfect length. It's not too long. It's not too short. And that's something that I felt Doom 1 was, which is why Doom 1 is worth playing, the Doom 2016 version. But I think Eternal is just amazing. Doom 1 introduces all the ideas that you know and love in Eternal, and Eternal just evolves them and takes them a mile, introduces even first-person platforming sections that I thought felt way better than they had to. It lets the game breathe a little bit. I think Doom 1, which a lot of people love, is that it's just constantly hammering you with enemies. And I feel like Doom Eternal just gave you like a 30-second reprieve just to explore, catch your breath, find a collectible, and then go back into the combat. I think it was way, way better paced. Okay, Dragon Age time. Dragon Age 2, Inquisition, Origins. Origins is one of the best role-playing games ever made from the golden age of BioWare. Dragon Age, Inquisition, and 2. Oh man, it's different now, right? It's different now. I gotta throw them both in the B category. I think if you play one, you should just go and play them all. As someone who's really into the Dragon Age lore, diving back into these games in the last year and a half has made me highly appreciative of the writing BioWare still does to this day. Dragon Age Inquisition plays very much like an MMO, so expect that. It's not the best gameplay experience, but the choices that you can bring in from your previous 2 playthroughs is incredible. And I think Dragon Age 2 goes as very underrated and underappreciated. So these are games. It's also a game that lived in Skyrim Shadow, so it really felt like it underdelivered at the time. But now that you're separated from that, I do think more fondly of it when I replayed it just last year. So I recommend giving all of the Dragon Age games a look, but if you're just going to play one and walk away, play the first one, Dragon Age Origins. Oh my God. It's hard to find the words sometimes when I love something so much, and Origins is that game. The music, the DLC, the stories, the choices, the origin choices you can do at the beginning of the game, like who you want to play as, altering your whole entire story path. Just supreme replayability. Xbox not really known for fighting games, but if you're going to play one on Xbox, it's going to be Dragonball Fighterz. This is one of my favorite fighting games of all time, and as a diehard Dragon Ball fan, I don't know if I need to explain myself any further than that. Take one look at the game. Tell me that's something that you're not going to go ahead and play. It is incredible what Arc System did here. They not only made one of the best looking Dragon Ball games, but they made the best playing Dragon Ball game, in my humble opinion. Dragon Quest XI. I've only played snippets of this, but I felt like I played enough to give an opinion on it. JRPGs are rare on Xbox. I'm going to put it in B now, but you could maybe see this go up. I love Akira Toriyama's art style, Dragon Ball for those who don't know, and he did the art for Dragon Quest. I like Dragon Quest a lot. I just need to complete this game, honestly, to really share a full opinion, but I think it's good enough to, if you're looking for a JRPG, you can play this one and you would enjoy your time with it. However, one I did play to completion that I feel very passionate about is Dragon Quest Builders 2. And I know that this is a spin-off series, but I think that if you're looking for a touch of Minecraft, a touch of action RPG, and like a surprisingly charming story with really great animations, and if you get deep enough into the game, co-op, Dragon Quest Builders 2 is a surprisingly really good game, to the point where when this game came out, I think it was 2018, this was in my top 5 games of the year. I really liked it that much, and you'll see I'm not really a crazy Minecraft guy nowadays, but I feel like this walked the line of being an action RPG and a builder enough. And plus, it's not just like Minecraft, it's go build something. This game provides you like recipes, and you build certain rooms, and these rooms have particular uses, and when you do that, your society will produce a particular item you need, and then you can build something bigger and greater. It just kind of stacks on top of itself and produces what I thought was one of the better experiences that you could have in Game Pass. Edge of Eternity. This is a C. Really cool idea. I love that Xbox is getting in on JRPGs. Just the quality's not there, man. The quality's not there. The story's not there. It's this kind of big, open JRPG, and I'm thinking to myself like, oh, it's kind of giving me like maybe Lost Odyssey vibes. Like that's what I'm looking for, Xbox. But this to me just doesn't quite deliver. Oh, we are in Elder Scrolls territory now. We should just do it all in one bang, right? All in one go. Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, Elder Scrolls Online. Elder Scrolls Online I'll put in A tier, because I'm not as passionate about ESO, but I do like it a lot. But Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind. Bethesda Game Studios is my favorite game developer in this industry, for those who don't know. And these are, in my opinion, must-play video games. They are milestone titles, in our industry that defined open world RPGs for generations to come. And they continue to do so. There are games still trying to do what Skyrim did and achieve its sense of openness and interactivity and the feeling of adventure. And we still have yet to see them hit the mark. Elder Scrolls Online remains one of the most underrated, underappreciated, underdiscussed MMOs on the market, but it's finding its audience. It's found its audience. It's in a great state right now, getting tons of content. If you are into Elder Scrolls and you have yet to give this a chance, open your mind a little bit, give it a shot. It is a really fun time. Just don't expect the Bethesda single-player experience, but they do a good job imitating it in some aspects, as you'll see. Fable 2, just replayed this last year, or at the beginning of this year, I believe it was, for a re-review. I still got to do my Fable 3 one. Fable 2, I kind of look less favorably upon now after replaying it. I feel like it stripped a ton of elements out of what I loved about the first Fable game. So to me, I don't really love it as much as I once did. I think the economy elements of it are cool. The town building elements are cool. Ways you can get married and whatnot are great. I love how you can kind of create your own empire, but I think that's where it stops. I don't think the evil choices you can make, for example, are as amazing as the first game. So as an RPG, I look at it less favorably, but it's still a fun time, and you can play it in co-op, but it's all shared screen, and that's hit or miss for a lot of people. That's how I played it, though, and yeah, it didn't feel the greatest, but it lost a step for me in the last year. Fable 3, yeah, kind of more of the same here, right? More problems, more loading screens, less role-playing, very frustrating. But Fable 1 is, to me, a must-play Game Pass game. It is, unfortunately, going to feel kind of dated in its combat, but when you get to the end in the Lost Chapters content, and you see some of the choices you can make, if you go full evil, oh my gosh, like, it's such a well-designed, put-together RPG, because I'll just say this, like, everyone can live or everyone can die. And I took an evil route this time, and everyone is dead. And I just love when games give you the power to control that experience. Like, there's actual consequence. If I go down that route, I can remove major characters from the story. They do such a good job with choices. They still have elements that you see in Fable 2, just they're not as broad, but you still can buy a house, you can rent out businesses, all that stuff. So I feel like Fable 1 is supremely impressive. If you like that, certainly you can go into Fable 2 and then 3 if you so desire. Fallout. It's time to bang out the Fallout series. Fallout 3, must play. I don't think I need to say more. I talk about it a disgusting amount on this channel. Fallout 4, A tier. Don't feel as passionate about it as I do Fallout 3. Fallout New Vegas. Yeah, it's again, more of the same with Fallout 3. Some of the best open world RPGs you can experience. In Fallout New Vegas, the choice and consequence in an open world is superb. In Fallout 4, I don't feel as passionate about it because it's not as strong of an RPG, but it is a great open world shooter with RPG elements, and I think it has a decent story that I sometimes don't think gets enough credit. Fallout 76, however, is kind of the black sheep of the franchise, and to me, you belong down here. I don't feel... There is no one who's given Fallout 76 more chances than me. okay? I've played this game through 3 times. I have a character that's active. I put hundreds of hours into Fallout 76. I have seen enough to say this game is not worth your time if you care about any of these 3 up here at the top. If you do, I don't think you're going to find what many people envision, which is, oh, it's just more Fallout. If I just disconnect myself from the online stuff, I'll enjoy this. Sorry, no, that's not what's going to happen here, I don't think. It is a game that almost won me over with the Wastelanders expansion, introducing NPCs and that type of stuff, but the content updates from there just became dreadful, slow, not enough. And not enough of what made Wastelanders great. And that's because a lot of their staff had left the team after that. So you're starting to feel the repercussions of that. And the rollout of content's just been far too slow and not what I'm looking for. So for me, I'm holding strong until next Fallout game. But there is the Pit coming out. Maybe you'll want to check it out around then in September. Provided you're watching this before it comes out. We'll see. I'll probably dive into that when the time comes. Far Cry 5. Low-key kind of like this game, but I'm going to put it in C because, again, more Ubisoft stuff will put these two together. You play one Ubisoft game, you played them all, so open-world checklist stuff. But the reason I low-key like Far Cry 5 is the ending is bananas. I'll just leave it at that. But let's talk about Final Fantasy 13. I gotta be honest with myself. 13 as a trilogy, I like a lot, but I know a lot of people are very in the middle on it. So here's how we're gonna do it. 13-1 is gonna be a C tier game. It's definitely extremely flawed. It's written in a way where I made a whole video kind of defending it on Retro Rebound, but you gotta admit that it's very complex. And I think if you take the time to understand it, you've got something there. But I know a lot of people don't have patience for it. What you should do is look up probably a recap of this game and then not sleep on Final Fantasy 13 2, which I think is one of the best Final Fantasy games. It's got one of the best villains. It's got a way where it plays with time and its mechanics that makes exploring areas fun. Its music is baller. Its characters are great. It's got like a Pokemon catching system. Final Fantasy 13 2 rocks. And then in the middle of these two is Lightning Returns, which I know some people thought the conclusion wasn't that great to the series. We can talk about that another day, probably on Retro Rebound. But with Lightning Returns, I love that they sort of do this Majora's Mask mechanic, and I thought that was fun to play around with. So I think favorably of the entire trilogy, I really do. I'd recommend the whole thing to you, but if you were to do this in a customizable way, just watch a recap of 13 and then hop into 13-2, where they took that feedback from 13 and responded in every way, I think, beautifully as a sequel. For Honor, still one of the really good online service games. Its combat is awesome, and I wish they would put like more official Star Wars content in there because I would be all over it. Forza Horizon 5. This is A tier for me. It's not a must play because I can't sit here and pretend, although many Xbox fans want me to, that I'm super passionate about racing games. But I played this one and I liked it, and that should tell you a lot because I don't really care for racing games. Adding to the Xbox classics Fusion Frenzy, this game is so fun. Such a fun party game. If you're looking for Xbox's Mario Party, that's what Fusion Frenzy is. And it's great. So give that a try if you have yet to. Now we've got a bunch of Gears of War games. Oh my God, how do you do all this at once? I'm just going to go through each of them. So keep in mind, Gears of War Ultimate Edition is like the remastered Gears 1. Then Gears 2 and 3 are on the 360 back compat with FPS boost. And then there's 4 on the Xbox One, 5 on the Xbox One with the next-gen updates. There's Judgment on the 360, and there's Tactics, which was like an Xbox One game. So keep all that in mind as I'm rating this because it's important that you know what version you're playing. All right, so Gears of War Ultimate Edition, I think is a B. I like Gears of War 1, but it's not really where I fell in love with the franchise. But Gears 2 and Gears 3 are just emotional, heartfelt, and you can tell after Gears 1 when people really bought in that Gears 2 and 3, they took it further than I think anyone ever expected. Even just replaying this whole series at the end of 2020, I was just blown away by how great of a job they did narratively. And then, of course, the multiplayer speaks for itself. It's fantastic. To me, Gears of War 4 is still a good game, but it's very much what I call the Force Awakens of Gears, which a lot of people receive as an insult. And it's like, I like Force Awakens, actually. But it's a very safe game. Very safe. Kind of retreading old ground, too. And I think for a studio's first time working with a storied franchise, that's probably a good call to make. However, with 5, they got really bold with things. and I do put 5 in high regard. I think the second half falls off a little bit, but I'm talking story here, by the way, if you couldn't tell, because I haven't played a ton of Gears multiplayer in all truth, but Gears 5 story in the first half is old with a capital B. I really like what they did with Gears 5 story. I know some people have had their grievances with their multiplayer and their handling of it. I totally understand and respect that, but for me personally, I just gotta say that Gears 5 is awesome in its story, and I'm looking at all these games from their story. Gears Judgment, you've probably heard this one before, but not in love with it. Not necessary to the whole story, so if you want to do a whole series run-through, you kind of don't really have to play Judgment as far as I'm concerned. You know, you might ask someone different, and they'll have a different answer for you, but I don't think it's necessary, and it's definitely the one that you can just skip, and I think it's the least inventive on the story front, least inventive on a gameplay front. Gears Tactics also belongs in the A tier. So this is a XCOM Gears game, way better than it had every right to be, but very surprisingly dope. So if you're looking for more Gears with a different squad and a different style of gameplay, more tactical turn-based, this is your game. Going Under. This is a roguelike beat-em-up. Really cool game. It's about like being an intern, and yeah, it's just really funny. But I recommend checking this one out for sure. Golf with your friends, good co-op game if you're looking to play online and do some golfing. Grounded, an Obsidian game that's very surprisingly good. You know, does what Fallout 76 does, but I think better. I put it in the B tier. I'm not in love with it. I think it's good, but it's not what I love about Obsidian. Guardians of the Galaxy is an A tier. This game was way better than I think anyone ever anticipated last year with the way Square Enix marketed it. It didn't do that well, so if you missed out on this one, do check it out. Hades. Yes. Go play Hades. Oh my God. Some of the best combat in video games. The Supergiant Games just doesn't miss. They just don't ever miss. Whether it be Transistor, which I have the scroll for in the background, whether it be Bastion, whether it be Pyre, they just always hit the nail on the head, and they did it again with Hades. This game is excellent. Please go play it. Halo time. So the way we split this up is Halo 5, Infinite, Master Chief Collection, Wars 2. Master Chief Collection is a must play. Running through all the Halo games, if you really put your nose to the grindstone, you could beat a Halo game a night. They are that short. And the stories here are wonderful. I especially have a soft spot for ODST, but of course you've heard about the Bungie trilogy and how great it is, how amazing Reach is, and how it's a fantastic prequel. The rumors are true. If you haven't played Halo yet, these are great stories that I think are even better in co-op. If you can play online with a friend in co-op, do yourself that favor and do just that. These are amazing first-person shooters that revolutionized the genre. There's a reason it's a storied franchise. There's a reason it's Xbox's current flagship property. And honestly, it's impressive what the multiplayer can do, where you can just mix and match between all these different engines, and where you could play Force multiplayer, then you could play Reach, and then so on and so forth. I mean, it's just very impressive what they did here. Halo 5, however, I replayed this at the end of 2021 for a re-review. The multiplayer is cool. There's some ideas there. It's very pay-to-winny with the packs and whatnot, but I wish I loved this game more. I think it feels good to play, even though it doesn't play like a traditional Halo game, and I think the opening missions of the campaign are actually kind of good. They're kind of fire, but it just falls off a cliff. It's not that great of a game overall. Halo Infinite. One of the best feeling Halo games, but one of the least supported ones. If this game gets good support, it is immediately in the S tier, but I think for now, I gotta put it in like the A tier, because I do think Halo Infinite, I go hard on this game because I'm so disappointed with its post-launch support. But if we're trying to individualize it and you have not played Infinite, I think it has a really good story that captures Master Chief as a character well. I think it ends in a very lackluster fashion. I do think the multiplayer feels good. The problem here, though, is once you go through all of that, you will hit a brick wall known as 343 Industries, who has yet to provide significant, meaningful, frequent content updates for this game. And it gets frustrating. So this is a game that when the time comes and you feel like there's enough content there, you can dive in. I'd say monitor the game, but it's not one you should skip out on. It's one that I do think is quite good. All that talk when the game was coming out was not just hype, I feel. This was legitimately a great feeling game. It's just unfortunate how the content rollout has gone. Halo Wars 1 and 2. Halo Wars 1 I'm going to put in the B category. I haven't played enough to like fully say like, I love this game, but I think it's great. I think Halo Wars 2 though, you want to talk about the probably the best 343 game, the most rock solid one of them all. I know it was made alongside Creative Assembly, but Halo Wars 2 had a good story. It was better than 5, that's for damn sure. At the time when 5 was out and Wars 2 was out, Wars was literally, in my opinion, Wars 2 was the best Halo game 343 had helped make, which is kind of sad to say. Maybe their expertise is best used somewhere else. But Halo Wars 2 introduces a lot of important narrative elements that you're going to see in Halo Infinite. So if Halo Infinite matters to you, this game is way more important than I think anyone ever talks about. Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. To me, this is A tier as well. It's a quick, bite-sized, 6-hour experience. The reason it's not an S tier for me is I think it shows a lot of great ideas, ones that I think are really cool. But right now, I think this will hit a little less harder because I think with Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, and its ideas it presents, and now knowing what Hellblade 2 is going to be, Senua's Saga, that you see a lot of things that just need to be evolved. It's still a special game. It focuses a lot on mental health and its storytelling, which I think is very empowering. So it's definitely worth a look for that. But otherwise, Hellblade is one that you should probably play if you're a Game Pass subscriber. Hitman Trilogy, say less. Put that stuff in the S tier right there. Oh my God. Some of the most replayable single-player games. Hitman 3, for example. 5 levels in that game worth replaying. Guess how many hours I put into it? 45. Just like that. It is insane how replayable these games are. Now they got Hitman 1, Hitman 2, all of the extra content, all of the challenge map updates they did. You could spend hundreds of hours here in Hitman if you so desire. And you should. They are incredible. Hitman 3 was my game of the year last year. Hollow Knight. Excellent, if you will, Souls-like 2D game. Very moody, very atmospheric. A lot of people love this game. Easy 50-hour game. Silk Song, the sequel to Hollow Knight, is coming day 1 to Game Pass, so you should probably play this ahead of that. Infernax, very slept-on Game Pass game. B tier. This game is cool. If you like Castlevania, if you like some choice and consequence, you're going to get that here in a 9-ish hour adventure. I really liked it a lot, and I thought it was a good throwback. Injustice 2, I'm less passionate about. I like this game as a fighting game, but there's another Realm game here I like much more. And so I would say, this is a really cool game that if you play the story for, you'll enjoy. And there's some great fights to be had online, but I wasn't as in love with Injustice 2 as I was with the first game. It Takes Two. So remember how I mentioned A Way Out? It Takes Two goes just above that at the A tier. This is a wonderful co-op game. Actually, I'm sorry, S tier, because it's probably the best co-op game that they got going for them right now in Game Pass that comes to mind currently. I think that this is an easy recommendation. It's a story about a couple going through a divorce, and one person controls the husband, one person controls the wife, and it is a romp and a half with some really unique, diverse gameplay ideas. Jedi Fallen Order. This is, in my opinion, we're getting these boxes so big, I gotta drop them in A, and then I'm gonna deceive a lot of you. This is an S tier. We're looking at what I think is the best Star Wars game since KOTOR. Souls elements, a true adventure game, planets worth exploring, a great story. I love the lightsaber battles in this game. It's just so much fun to play. Cal Kestis is a great protagonist. Really, really, really adore this game. And now it's got the next-gen updates, so you can enjoy that as well. Killer Instinct, so slept on, so disgustingly slept on. This was the best game that came out on Xbox One when it was a launch day, in my opinion. And now they got the definitive edition with all the content, the story mode, arcade mode, all these characters. You can play as the Arbiter, Battletoads, what have you. They need to bring this series back. Play this, and you'll understand why. Lemnis Gate, C tier. I thought the idea of a first-person shooter with strategy elements was really cool, but I thought the execution wasn't there. Lethal League Blaze, also C tier. I'm more interested in this company's next game, which is Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which looks like the open world sequel to Jet Set Radio that I've been hoping for a while. But this is a 2D kind of sports game where you're slapping a ball back and forth, and it kind of goes crazy, and it's fun. My friend and I played it for about 5 hours, and that was really it. We were sort of over it from there. So a good one-night fun type of game. Maneater. Shark RPG. Need I say more? Avengers. Nope. Yep, they've been updating it, but nope. Sorry. There's just not enough updates here. It's got that 76 stink on it. The updates aren't frequent enough. They just put in, I want to say, a new hero, and the reports are that Winter Soldier's coming, so they are updating it, but this game has yet to have its true bounce back that I think people were hoping for, and they only doubled down on monetization. It was a terrible launch, and I have not really gone back since, outside of the War for Wakanda expansion I checked out, and kind of more of the same, but I can see how people dig this game. I want to love this game. I am a comic book junkie, but I got my self-respect. I can't do it. All right, so you may notice here for Mass Effect, we have Mass Effect 3, not 1 and 2. We have Mass Effect 3, we have Andromeda, and then we have Legendary Edition. The reason I did this is because Mass Effect 3 has its multiplayer. If you can dive into the multiplayer, remember, you got to have the online pass, but if you have the online pass, this is a game worth checking out. Mass Effect Andromeda, nope. Actually, I'm going to put it in the D tier because I think with what I saw in the Mass Effect 5 trailer, it's going to be worth checking out, maybe. They're definitely acknowledging the Andromeda Galaxy still exists in the new Mass Effect trailer. So you may want to look up a little bit of a recap, but if you want to play a Mass Effect game that feels really good to play but doesn't have any great character or story moments outside of, like, I can count it on one hand, literally, I can remember it off the top of my head, you can play Andromeda. But I feel like this game just falls short of what the franchise is known for, and that's why Mass Effect Legendary Edition is a must-play Game Pass game. So here you've got, interestingly, 2 fantastic trilogies in Mass Effect Legendary Edition and Hitman Trilogy, just in this service. That's 6 games, and that's why this list, it says 200 plus games, but the actual game count, I think, is, I want to say, like 180 something, 190 something, because a lot of these are collections. This is why Game Pass is amazing. That is insane that they're providing this value, and here we are with Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is just some of the best sci-fi gaming storytelling you can have, some of the most impactful choices in Mass Effect 1 and 2, and I don't care what anyone says about 3 and how it ended. It is an emotional moment that I remember getting my dinner. I had mac and cheese that night, and I sat there staring at a wall while I ate it, just trying to process what has happened over the last 7 years and all those replays and how it's come to an end. It is an emotional experience, and get this, what's crazy is the DLC rocks too. Check it out if you haven't played Mass Effect. You're doing yourself a disservice. All right, Medal of Honor Airborne. I love this game. Serious soft spot for it, but it's a C. It controls like ass. I don't know how else to put it. But if you're looking for a good World War II shooter and you have nostalgia for Medal of Honor like I do, this is a great game to check out, but it just does not feel good to play. I don't know how you mess up a first-person shooter that way, but check it out and you'll know what I mean. Microsoft Flight Simulator. I put this in the B tier. If you're looking for Zen, late night chill vibes, flying all over the world, this is a very popular game, so I'm sure some people will call this a underrated move, but I think it's solid for what it is. But I clearly am a very different gamer from many. But if you are looking for a Zen experience, I think, yeah, this could be worth a download. It's a big one at that. Shadow of War. It has gone through a number of updates and has really cleaned itself up, and I think it's worth a playthrough now. This game is rad, so I recommend giving it a look. I mean, especially with how the wars play out, they are so epic, and as a Middle-earth fan, I think it's really cool what they did here. Minecraft time! Dungeons! Minecraft in general. This is going to be weird. This is going to be like a not me pick, but a for you pick. Dungeons is an A because if you're looking for, you're a dad or a mother and you're looking for a game to suggest to your kid, this is definitely one. If you're looking for a game to play alongside your kid, this is definitely one. It's a dungeon crawling, combat focused game, very simple, easy to understand. Is it like Diablo on the level of character building and replayability and loot drops? No, you're not going to get that. But what you're going to get is a very accessible dungeon crawling game that is great for younger kids. And I think that's what it's for. And so for me, it gets an A just because I think it's easy to recommend for parents. And that is an important part of Game Pass. Same thing goes for Minecraft. I don't have the fire for Minecraft I had many years ago. But I do think that Minecraft alongside Dragon Quest Builders, like these three all go together. It's like if you're looking for something to recommend your kid, or if you're like a man-child like me, I guess a young adult, these are all great for that type of stuff. All right, we got Mirror's Edge and Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Yeah, they're both B tier. I think Catalyst gets a lot of crap for what I thought was pretty ambitious open world parkour. I think it's really cool, and obviously Mirror's Edge is a classic. I love Mirror's Edge, but it hasn't aged as favorably, and some people can get motion sickness from the first-person animation, so keep that in mind. But these are great open-world free-running games, at least the second one is, sorry, and I like them for what they are. I think they're very different. It was during a time where we could actually see some risk-taking, and I don't think we see that nearly enough nowadays. MLB The Show 22, it's like I think the only sports game we have here, and I think this is a must-play if you like sports. I mean, this is the sports game. I love baseball, so I'm a little biased here, but the fact that a PlayStation Studios game is on Xbox is crazy enough, so I'm not saying play it out of spite, but this game, like with its franchise mode, its Be a GM mode, it can be in-depth micromanaging, and that's really cool. So definitely one worth checking out. Moonglow Bay, very cozy fishing game. Fishing RPG. Check this one out if you're looking for a nice, relaxing experience. This is the game I said I was more passionate about from NetherRealm. That would be Mortal Kombat. Sorry, I put Moonglow Bay in the A tier. I meant to put that in the B tier. These blocks are getting so big. So yeah, as we can see here, we have Injustice 2 down here in the B tier. I think Mortal Kombat 11 is fantastic. The feel of that game is one of the best fighters I've played of modern gaming. And I just think they really nailed it here. I love the progression. I love the combos, the character roster. So good, so good. Big fan of Mortal Kombat 11. My friend Pedro, that game is outside, doing some crazy stuff. 2D parkour style shooter. It's weird, but give it a try. Naraka Blade Point. We're looking at what I think is a really cool battle royale game with third-person melee combat. Battle Royale may not be your thing, but it's a popular thing, and I think it's very good for what it's doing here. So if you're looking to spice things up, check that out. There are a number of Need for Speed games on Game Pass. We're looking at Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered because it's the only one out of all those that I remember playing. I have played some of the newer ones. I think Heat, but I could not from the covers just differentiate which one I played. There were so many that came out, and I just went with the one that I know I played growing up that has been remastered. And yeah, it's a great arcade racer right there with Burnout Paradise. These were two I grew up with. As you know, not a big racing game fan, but these were the two that I enjoyed superbly. Super Lucky's Tale. New Super Lucky's Tale. There's Super Lucky's Tale and then there's new Super Lucky's Tale. We're talking about the new one. I'm going to say it, dude. This game is awesome. I love the soundtrack for it. I love the collectathon feel it's got. It's a good time. Again, if you're a parent looking to recommend a game to your kids, Super Lucky's Tale is a great suggestion here. Not only that, but like, look, I like it. I think it's a fun time. So I had a blast with it. I recommend it. Check it out. Another collection here. Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1, 2, 3, Razor's Edge. Again, A tier. I think these games all rock. And yes, even 3. 3 Razor's Edge is just a good action game, but 1 and 2 are like some of the best Souls-like inspirations you could have. They were really why I think the Souls genre was born, especially Ninja Gaiden Black, which is on Game Pass, and I would probably recommend that over Sigma 1. That is just my personal 2 cents, but it depends how much you care about trophies, achievements, all that stuff. So up to you, but I love the Ninja Gaiden games. I have a real soft spot for them, especially 2. I love 2. It's so frenetic, so action-packed, but so tough. The Sigma games dial that down a little bit, though. So keep that in mind, and if back compat is your route, you do have that option as well, which many hardcore fans recommend, and I would say it's worth exploring and looking up comparison videos online. No Man's Sky. This is a tough one. I fired this up. I can't sit here and pretend I'm really seeing what other people are seeing. To me, they've layered a lot of new mechanics on top of what is the same game that I wasn't a fan of. So I think No Man's Sky is one I'm an outlier on. I respect what it's done. I respect Hello Games for really rebuilding this game, and you will probably like it more than me. But I never have fun in this game. I never do, and I've given it a lot of chances, so I'm sorry I cannot fully recommend No Man's Sky personally. Nobody Saves the World Really cool day one Game Pass indie game. We actually had the chance to interview Graham Smith over at Drinkbox about their experience with Game Pass and being a day one title and what that means for an indie company. So I do have a little bias there, probably inherently, but this is a co-op driven game that you can play with a friend. It's one of the best games of the year for sure, and I really like it. Drinkbox Games made Guacamelee, so this is just another great game from them. Octopath Traveler! Oh, hell yeah. Get that shit in the S tier right now. Oh, pixel art is my love. And with Square Enix, they do this HD 2D art style that is modern graphics, right? Like modern architecture, but they build it with sprites, so it's like 3D, but also 2D. It's so beautiful. It's worth playing for the looks alone and the soundtrack alone, but you've got a really competent turn-based game that takes the Bravely Default series and its combat system and evolves it. It isn't a great story by any means. All 8 of these party members just kind of function independently despite being within the same group. So there will be cutscenes that involve one another, but they're very rare. Otherwise, though, this is a wonderful turn-based RPG that you'll gather brave points and you can spend them to really like do a ton of damage and do sequential attacks. And it's all about timing and execution, and really unique JRPG that I just love so much. Must play on Game Pass if you're looking for a JRPG. One Piece Pirate Warriors. I've been getting into One Piece lately, and this is a Musou-style One Piece game. If you're looking for a great beat 'em up, this is it. I like One Piece, man. 100 episodes deep, so say less. One Step from Eden. To my Mega Man Battle Network fans out there, we did it. We got a game, and it's One Step from Eden. A little more chaotic than I think I like in my Battle Network style combat system, but still a great game. Roguelike though, so that's why it finds itself in the B category, because I like Mega Man's Battle Network's combat system, but I don't love it so much that I'm going to forget my dislike of roguelikes. Ori is absolutely a set of must-play games from Xbox that were exclusive there. They're now on Switch as well. I love what Moon Studios did here. This is a heartfelt story with some of the most beautiful art. You'll cry a ton of times because of how gorgeous it is, but also just how sad it can be. It is such a moving tale, especially Will-o'-the-Wisps, the sequel. Play Blind Forest first. That's the first game. Very challenging, deceptively tough. Will-o'-the-Wisps is a lot more manageable, but it hits hard, man. Sad story. Outriders. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go there. Yeah. Outriders is awesome. I've never been a Destiny fan, but Outriders is so fun to go back to. This game feels electric, and it's got this B-tier movie humor that is like it feels like bad writing, but it's not. It's actually great writing because it knows what it's doing. And so I love this game. Please check it out if you have yet to. Overcooked 2. This game rocks. A tier. If you're looking for like really fun couch co-op stuff, or I believe Overcooked 2 is also online co-op, but I played it couch co-op with my girlfriend, and I thought this was a lot of fun. Just the, I need onions. Come on, go get the onions. Go. And like the maps that they make you play on. It's a really good time with friends. Great party game. Pac-Man Museum. Yeah, it's more Pac-Man. You like Pac-Man? You like the arcade machines? Go ahead, check it out. Payday 2. You want to know how much you want to trust your friends? Play Payday 2. Doing heists with them, and it requires a lot of patience, but it's a really, really good time. One of the most popular co-op games for good reason. Oh, I'm in the B tier. Sorry, that's A tier. It's getting really, really stacked out here. That's what happens when you grade over 200 video games. Perfect Dark Zero. Meh. Wish I loved this game. Give it a second try at the end of last year and wasn't in love with what I played. Phoenix Point, though, if you're looking for more XCOM, check this out. They've been updating it a lot, and you may not love it as much as XCOM, but it is a really, really good game. My co-host, Lord Cognito, stands hardcore for this one. Pillars of Eternity. I have to call the fraud alert on myself. Yeah, I haven't played this one, but it's Obsidian. It's an isometric RPG. It's the only game on this list that I have bent my own rules for, so forgive me for throwing this in the A tier, because I know I need to play it. I know I'm going to like it. I know how I roll. I know how Obsidian rolls, and if you're looking for a good isometric RPG, on Game Pass alongside games like Solasta, Crown of the Magister. You've got one here in Pillars of Eternity. Check this one out because it's there alongside its sequel. Don't play it on the Switch. The sequel on the Switch has a bug that is ruining the game, and Obsidian has confirmed they are not going to patch it. Why not? Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. B, this game is way better than I think anyone realizes. Power Rangers rock. I don't know why it's alongside that and the Ninja Turtles. We just don't get that like early 2000s, late 90s entertainment in video game format anymore. But Power Rangers Battle for the Grid is a more like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 itch that you can scratch. It has a lot of additional content that's been added, DLC. It has added a story mode, although it's not that great. I think the combat feels good because I liked how MVC felt. So this one, definitely worth a look if you have yet to check it out. Oh, it's Arcane time. Okay, let's take Prey. Let's put it where it rightfully belongs and next to all of its friends. More of what I said with Dishonored here, except Prey is sci-fi. Prey is definitely, I'd say, more impressive of a video game on a technical level, perhaps, but I think Dishonored 2 is more impressive design-wise. But Prey is a wonderful game where you're on a derelict space station. There's a lot of trippy stuff happening in your mind. There's this kind of weird enemy that can turn into objects, so you could look at this water bottle and go to interact with it, and it turns out it's an enemy. So you start to like really trip out while playing the game because you don't trust anything. So it plays with your mind a little bit, and as you make choices throughout the game, enemies will become more strong and aggressive depending on what powers you embrace or resist. So this is a great game which has one of the best DLC ever made, Prey Mooncrash. Psychonauts 2. I really was wrong about this one. This is, to me, a must-play. I thought Psychonauts 2 was a game that before it came out, I was very much like, I don't care. This just whatever. It's Psychonauts 2. But now taking a look at Psychonauts 2 and after beating it, I'm like, this was a heartfelt, mental health focused 3D platformer with some of the best animation work in the industry. I make a comparison to Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, right? That's the game that everyone was looking at saying, this is a Pixar movie. To me, no, sorry, but I think Psychonauts 2 is taking that crown. And I think you owe it to yourself to give it a look with an open mind. If you haven't played the first one, that's fine. This game has a great recap, catches you up like that. I have not played the first game. I do want to, but I have not played the first game. But Psychonauts 2 is excellent. Paparazzi. I hate to do this to him. This game could have been so much more. It was literally Pokemon Snap with cute-ass dogs for Xbox. And they messed it up. It was so buggy when I played. It was so buggy, and they didn't give you enough objectives to do when you were playing around, so it was just very much like, look at the dogs, isn't that cool? And you'd find the occasional cool stuff like a dog skateboarding. It's like, all right, that's great, but otherwise, I just wanted to love this one so much. As someone who has a very strong passion for animals, I really wanted to love Paparazzi, but it ain't it. Quake. More of that Doom style gameplay. You can find all of the OG Doom games in Game Pass as well. And so if you do like that style of gameplay, they have Quake, which has been like remastered entirely in 4K. So there's a lot of great old school first person shooter presence waiting for you within Game Pass. And I think they're worth a look for sure. Quantum Break. Yeah, I know you're going to see all the company it's in and go, B? I think Quantum Break gets a bad rap, really bad rap. I think this game was way, way better than anyone ever gave it credit for. And I know I've said that a lot this video, but that's what happens when you talk about 200 games. You're going to start to overlap a little bit in your line of thinking. But yeah, this is another underrated Xbox exclusive. I think it came out at a time where Xbox One fans were restless. They saw PlayStation popping off. You get a game that's in that kind of Xbox One TV movie era where, yes, half the story is told through a TV show. I think it's kind of cool and novel for its time. It's awesome that they experimented like this. I think it was a good game. I thought it was a lot of fun. And in fact, I called it one of the best Xbox One games when it came out, and I still stand by that. There is a game, though, that was from the Xbox One era that we'll talk about that was much, much better. But this was one of the top dogs, I thought. And I still have a spot for it where I really like it. Rage 1. Rage 1 and Rage 2. A lot of people don't like Rage. Maybe it's because I'm a Fallout fan. You saw what I did with Fallout right here. It's in the S tier. So yeah, of course, the post-apocalyptic open world games get their slot in the A tier. You know, for me personally, when it comes to Rage, I think Rage 2 goes down as a game that, to me, feels like open world Doom. But a lot of people didn't like that there was a moment of respite where you would drive to the next location, because I guess people want that now action. As you can tell by the way I rated Doom 2016 versus Eternal, and how I rated Rage 2 and Rage 1, like, I like those moments of reprieve. And I think Rage 1 was, while it was a technical showcase, it was also just very atmospheric and enjoyable and fun to play. But Rage 2 just cranks it up a notch, and I thought was a joy, a real joy to play. This is a game, though, that reviewed terribly. For what I thought it was, which was a ton of fun with vehicular combat, with open world gunplay. It felt good. It looked good. Don't sleep on this one. Give it a shot. What you should sleep on is Rainbow Six Extraction. Oh my God, man. Probably one of the worst day one Game Pass games. You want to talk about asset flip the video game, download it, check it out, and just see how similar it is to Rainbow Six Siege, which I'm putting in the B tier only because I have not played this game recently. If I was going off of what I played when this game first came out and how I played it for about 2 years, putting hundreds of hours into it, this shit would be in the S tier. But I'm going to put it in the B tier because I haven't played it recently. But at the core of Rainbow Six Siege, highly destructible environments, very tense multiplayer sessions, very team coordinated, very hero driven, with a lot of characters that have different abilities to break down the walls with like a sledgehammer, or you could have hackers, all this stuff. I love Rainbow Six Siege. I thought it was a ton of fun, so I do recommend you download it for sure. It would be higher if I had more modern experience, but I had moved on from the game years ago. Rare Replay. To me, this just goes into A tier because it's the most bang for your buck that you get in this entire service. It's a 30-game package with tons of classics from Conquer to Banjo to Battletoads and so on and so forth, all in one game. And unfortunately, some of Rare Replay will download separately, so you'll see a lot of 360 games available separately, like Banjo-Tooie, Banjo-Kazooie, so on and so forth. Nuts and Bolts are all going to be there separately, because that's how Rare Replay did it. It's like a collection of games, but only some are available on the Rare Replay package. The rest are like back compat. So a little disappointing there, for sure. But Rare Replay, to me, is like one of the best bang for your buck packages you can get. There's also Jet Force Gemini, which is one of my favorite Rare games, and you can customize the controls to make it play like a traditional third-person shooter. So I really do appreciate it for that. Recore. This hurts my Mega Man soul because I know my boy Inafune was on this one, but I just can't with this game, man. Stay away. What you could go near, though, is the best, as we like to call it in Defining Duke, 900p game of all time, Rise Son of Rome. I know there's a lot of quick time events here, but if you can look past that, you have a game that actually has a surprisingly good story. It is a looker to this day, and it is really fun and really satisfying to play. Again, you got to accept its shortcomings. You have to. But if you do, which I guess I did without really noticing it, because once I beat it in one sitting, I was like, that was amazing. And I played it again. And I beat it like 4 times now. I love Rise Son of Rome. So give it a shot if you have yet to. But keep in mind, you got to accept its shortcomings. And I know that's probably one of my more bold picks on this tier list. Sable. I played this with my girlfriend. This is my girlfriend review style take on this, because I did not play this, but I was with her as I watched her play it. And this game is really, really atmospheric. And if you're looking for a more Zen type game where you're just exploring a world, there's no threats, nothing's harassing you every 5 seconds like a Ubisoft game, Sable is your play. Very Breath of the Wild style, very, very calm and peaceful though. And I also like how there's no voice acting, so it's very much like you're just one with the world. I like it a lot. It looked like a good time, and I think people would really enjoy it. Scarlet Nexus. This is one that definitely goes up in the A tier as well. This should have been day one Game Pass, in my opinion. They couldn't get the deal done, but it's here now. And it is a fun action RPG with a lot of really unique ideas that has gone down as probably one of the games that flopped last year, but I really think you should give it a look. It's a perfect time to check it out now in a lull. It's an action RPG with some social elements and some really trippy story moments that make no sense. So if you can accept that, you're in for a good time with a rare Japanese game on Xbox. Sea of Thieves. This is B tier for me. I like Sea of Thieves. I don't love it, but it's very popular for a reason. I played it last year for a little bit. I couldn't get back into it, but I know people really like where the game's heading. They're constantly updating it. It's probably Xbox's most successful live service game right now, and again, for good reason. Please do give it a look. They have Disney content in there. They have lots of great cosmetics. They have tons of recurrent content, treasure hunting, all that stuff. And as a member of Last 10, I got to shout out Ben Smith, who is a huge fan of Sea of Thieves. Skate 1 is an A tier. Skate 3 is B tier. I like Skate 1 more. What can I say? But now more than ever, Skate is more relevant to play. Why is that? Because the new Skate's coming out. It's free to play, microtransactions, live service game. That's not what we played Skate for, EA. Go enjoy the true Skate games. Whether you play 3 or 1, I don't care. But Skate 1, I love how like you're one with the skateboard, like the camera's pulled in. I love the kind of bluish filter they put on the game that makes it look like you're viewing the game through a camera, which you technically are, because everyone's like filming your tricks and stuff. And I played this game when I was a hardcore skater. That was like my young high school and late middle school type days. So this game hits home, but I love Skate in general. Slay the Spire, probably my favorite roguelike out there currently. I think that as a card-based game, I'm a sucker for card games, and this game does it right. A lot of character classes, a lot of types of builds you can do, but just like every other roguelike game, it's sort of a roll of the dice if you're going to have a fun time or not. So keep that in mind, but it is one of my favorites. Sniper Elite 5. This one may surprise you. S tier. I thought this game was friggin' awesome. To me, one of the best day one Game Pass games that they have put on the service. Its co-op is a lot of fun. Its levels are more open than they have ever been, really taking a page out of the Arcane playbook. And they have a really cool invader mechanic that you can, while you're playing the game, get invaded by a sniper Jaeger, and it'll be another player who's playing Sniper Elite with you, but they're trying to hunt you down. So you get into these sniper battles in the middle of missions, and sometimes it can get a little out of control and people can keep joining your game, but most times it's like one person joins and now you're playing a game of cat and mouse. Such a great defining mechanic for the game. I loved it. Highly recommended for co-op or single player. This is about a 10-hour game you could just burst through and call it a day. Solasta, Crown of the Magister. Are there any D&D fans out there? If so, you have your game. Are you a Divinity Original Sin fan? You have your game in the A tier now. Solasta, Crown of the Magister is rad. I just started playing it. It is awesome for those who are looking for those types of RPGs. Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator. Unless you like achievements, this game really didn't impress me. But if you want to get like a quick 1000 gamer score, you could play this game and have it within a couple of hours. It's that simple. Spiritfarer. What a somber game. Just go in blind. Go in blind and... Oh, sorry. A tier. S tier. Go in blind and just enjoy. Have fun with a very emotional, beautiful video game. I'll just give you the premise, which is that you're helping pass spirits into the afterlife, and I adore this game. SSX, I also, oh my god, you want to talk about something on the other end of the spectrum that's just wild, tons of tricks. SSX is S tier. I love this game so much. The tricks that you can do. It was actually the first game I played on my Series X. Like, I downloaded Game Pass. I installed Game Pass. I downloaded this game. First one I played. I was like, I gotta just see how this feels. It still feels incredible to this day. Love that. Battlefront 1. One of the biggest disappointments in modern gaming, but what wasn't was Battlefront 2, which has had one of the best bounce backs that we have seen in modern gaming. Battlefront 2 is, I know that they should be supporting it, and they dropped it for 2042, which isn't that good right now, but Battlefront 2 is still worth your time. If you haven't dove in, this is a great time to do so. All the content's there, all the maps, modes, all the feedback that they took into account. They have really made a great game here. It's because, as I said, when day of launch, when I reviewed it, I said Battlefront 2 is actually a really good game that's buried by microtransactions monetization, and they ripped all of that out, redesigned the game, added tons of content, and they delivered. And I wish they got to the part where they over-delivered. I really do. Star Wars Squadrons. Just like the story in Battlefront 2, this is like literally a retreading of the same ground because the writers on that game are largely the same and they just seemingly don't know how to make a great Star Wars story, in my opinion. But what they do know how to make here at EA Motive is a pretty good Star Wars game. And Star Wars Squadrons is that. It feels good to play, but I am biased because I played this in VR and I thought it was sick. As a diehard Star Wars fan, to be in the cockpit, looking around, flying around, I mean, awesome stuff. But even as a console game, really cool stuff. Stardew Valley, classic. I'm going to put this in B, though. I can't act like I love this one as much as everyone else. I've tried to play this game dozens of times, and I just never get that hook that many people do. State of Decay. This is a buggy game that I don't think a lot of people are going to adore, but for me, I think there's so much jank there that it's lovable. It is a really high-risk type of zombie game where as you're looting houses, like if you make any type of noise, you'll alert the zombies, and when you do, they're going to go after you, and that character that you've been building, if they die, that's it. They're permanently dead. So there's a lot of RPG systems here, a lot of character interaction systems here. It is full co-op, so it is a really good time. It's just, again, a game that I feel like there's so much jank, you may not love it, but I think it's the lovable type of jank. Sunset Overdrive. Remember when I said there was an Xbox One game while talking about Quantum Break that was excellent? It's this game. This is S tier. If you have not played Sunset Overdrive and you want to get where Spider-Man got all of its bells and whistles from, this is that game. Sunset Overdrive goes down as a game that was burned by the Xbox One player base because there just wasn't enough people out there to sing the praises of a amazing, goofy, over-the-top, open world, Ratchet and Clank weapon inspired. Sunset Overdrive is just so insanely fun. And as someone who loves post-apocalyptic, loves Ratchet and Clank, loves the movement in Spider-Man, this is where all of that comes together. It is a still amazing game because it's so fun to play. Don't go in expecting a story or anything crazy, but it is so fun. Superliminal. Surprising indie gem here on Game Pass that you can beat in like 4 hours, 3 hours. I beat it in one night with my girlfriend, and we loved it. It's a game where, depending on your perspective of things, if something's closer, it gets bigger, and then you can drop it, and it manipulates the size of objects in the environment. So it's an interactive puzzle game, and as someone who doesn't like puzzles, this was a surprisingly really good one, so that's why I put it in the A tier. Also, story takes some twists and turns you may not expect, kind of Stanley Parable level, so keep an eye out on that. Terraria. Don't love this one nearly as much as 99.9% of the internet, but I've played. You want to talk about a game on this list that I have tried time in, time out to see, can I get it? I cannot understand Terraria for the life of me and why people like it, but it's there. If you want to have an alternative to Minecraft, give it a shot. You'll probably like it way more than me. The Ascent. Also C tier. This game was horribly balanced. I love the world of The Ascent so much. This corporate-driven cyberpunk neo-futuristic world. I love what they have in mind here, but the mechanics just fall apart. I think the story is incomplete. Literally, it's incomplete. When it ends, you're like, what happened? The gunplay of a twin-stick shooter with some more verticality falls apart. It doesn't make the proper use of it. I just think all of this game's ideas are not executed upon, and it falls apart. What I do hope to see is a sequel for The Ascent. I really do, because I think it could be something truly exciting. Evil Within 1 and 2. The Evil Within 1 is one of my favorite survival horror games, up there with Dead Space. However, Evil Within 2, I look less favorably upon. If you will, I consider it a good game, but it's a B tier. This War of Mine. You want to be depressed? Go play this War of Mine. TMNT Shredder's Revenge is the best beat 'em up in the service. You owe it to yourself to play this. If you're looking at it from the perspective of, can I beat this in a sitting? Yes, you can. TMNT Shredder's Revenge is a couple of hours long, but it is replayable because you have character progression, and it's just an amazing arcade beat 'em up. It's just fun to go in whenever you want. And you can play with up to 6 friends online. Huge thumbs up for me. And as a TMNT fan, I would be wrong if I didn't just sit here and scream from the mountaintops, play this game. Excellent game. My favorite day one Game Pass game to date. Yeah, I'm biased. I don't care. Trek to Yomi. If you like good presentation, you're going to love Trek to Yomi. But if you're looking for good 2D combat with good presentation, you're not going to get that. Trek to Yomi has some cool choices in its story. I love the presentation, but it just makes the game feel terrible as you're fighting like with the camera a mile out down here and trying to see what's happening, and it's very janky, and the combo system falls apart because there's one combo you can use that's for breaking armor that everyone gets executed from, and it just doesn't feel mechanically sound. It needed some more time in the oven, but they put it out, and it's an alright game. I don't love it as much as some others do. Undertale. Speaking of games I don't love as much as others, it's good, but I'm not like, oh my god, Undertale, Deltarune. Yeah. But I respect it. The music here is great. The characters here are charming. The choices you can make are awesome. I think it's a good game. I just don't have it in like my favorite games of all time like many others do. Untitled, however, is a game from 2 developers that is really, really, really good. It's a futuristic style game inspired by Zelda, but it's also got combat that reminded me a lot of Hades. And you want to talk about a baller soundtrack here. You've got one. Clearly, I'm a soundtrack guy, but Untitled goes down as 2021's, I think, most under-discussed video game in the indie space. This was a game I only found out about because the developers were really complaining about how it wasn't getting much media attention despite their efforts. And I saw it and I started screaming from the rooftop when I played it. I was like, this game is legit. Go play it. Wasteland 2. After a certain Wasteland game, Wasteland 2 is like, yeah, it's good. You could go play it if you want more of it. But what I'm here to recommend to you as the best modern isometric RPG currently, today, is Wasteland 3. You want to talk about choice and consequence. You want to talk about grabbing a story by its you know what and saying like, I'm going to do whatever I want and go in any direction I want. That's what Wasteland 3 is. It is so good, man. It's unreal. It's just the amount of twists and turns and things you can do, the chaotic storm you can be in this game as you rip through the world. Incredible. Incredible. We Happy Few. This one hurts. I want to love We Happy Few so bad, but I can't. We Happy Few, man, you got the greatest atmosphere, BioShock vibes. Off the rip, this opening is one of my favorite openings to a video game. I kid you not. I love how this game sets its tone, but after that, We Happy Few just becomes procedural generated content, and it shows that Compulsion Games can make some of the most atmospheric games if they had a budget, so it's why I'm so excited to see what they're working on next. But We Happy Few, it's no contrast to me. It's no contrast to me. Weird West. A lot of people like this game. To me, I played 10 hours of this. I got through 2 of the stories. You can play 5. I got through 2 of the stories, and I wasn't feeling it. Twin stick shooter. It tries to be an immersive RPG with like environmental interactions, but to me, as someone who's like a huge fan of something like Divinity or Wasteland, this game's level of interaction just pales in comparison. And I get it. We're talking about more of an indie team here, but it's just like barrels and being able to set oil on fire by using nearby explosives. It's like, okay, that's it. That's the limit of your interaction in combat. And I think for a twin stick shooter, they could have done a lot more, but they didn't. It's a really weird world, though, with like ugly characters and creatures and mythological elements in a Wild West storyline. So there is something there worth investigating, but to me, it didn't click. Wolfenstein. Oh, we're almost here at the end. Wolfenstein 2 is disliked for whatever reason. I love it. Wolfenstein New Order is phenomenal. Must play. Wolfenstein Old Blood is C tier is where I put it, and then Young Blood do not touch. So Wolfenstein's like an up and down franchise, but the first 2 games are must plays. Now we got World War Z. Okay, so probably would have been best to do this in one burst, but remember when I put Back 4 Blood down here in the very early goings of our video? I was like, yeah, there's just, you know, you get that Left 4 Dead vibe, but it's not there. If you're looking for the true Left 4 Dead experience, it's World War Z. World War Z is way better than it had any right to be. So check that one out. Yakuza, the Remastered Collection. Yeah, you got to play that alongside Yakuza Like a Dragon. Yakuza as a franchise is all there on Game Pass. Start off with Kiwami 1. Start off with Yakuza 0. Any Yakuza game you play first will be one of your favorite games in recent memory because you've never played anything quite like a RGG studio game. From there, it's kind of hit or miss because they do recycle elements that will be familiar with some new mini games, but these games have such a strong identity. And Like a Dragon is a complete shakeup, turning it into a turn-based RPG. I really strongly recommend you look into this franchise. It is so much more popular now, and for good reason. People were able to discover it and see how excellent it is. We got one more S tier game. Zero Escape the Nonary games. It goes there with Danganronpa. You want to look at some really good visual novel content. This is strictly visual novels with escape room puzzles. I just look up guides for the escape room puzzles and just do the visual novel stuff. And the twist and turns the story will bring you on, the mind-blowing experiences. I still think about Virtue's Last Reward to this day. It is so crazy what happens in that game. So good though. It is so confusing at times because it's so maturely written. But if you have the time to go through 3 visual novels and the willingness, these are it alongside Danganronpa. And then Zombie Army 4. You looking for more zombie action? You got it. So with that, you've got our complete tier list of the games I have played on Game Pass. The ultimate Game Pass tier list, updated. I'm exhausted. Shout out to Josh for doing this. My throat is fried. I am starving. It's 9:30 at night as I finish recording this, so I hope you all enjoyed. Hopefully we'll get to do this again, maybe when Starfield and Redfall come out and we see more new games added to Game Pass, but this is the list. This is, again, everything I would put in the S, A, B, C, D, and F tier. So read it and weep or read it and celebrate. I don't care. It's my opinion. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch all of you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.